John Keller stood alone at the edge of the landing pad, his boots sinking slightly into the red sand. The shuttle behind him lifted off with a loud roar, leaving only silence and dust. He looked around. No soldiers, no commander, no welcoming party. Just strange trees and glowing vines in a place he didn't recognize from any map. This was not a reward posting. This was exile. He had once been a respected human soldier, known for bravery and strategy during the Zarn War. But now, after a political mistake and a few angry words said to the wrong general, he found himself dropped off on a forgotten alien colony named Virelia. His orders were vague: assist in cultural protection efforts. But assist who no one had told him who lived here. And now, standing alone, he realized no one had even told them he was coming. He walked forward, hand resting on the grip of his sidearm. Tall, purple-leaved trees swayed gently in the wind. The air smelled sweet but unfamiliar. Then he heard a soft sound like a whisper carried by the breeze. He turned. Behind a large stone archway, several figures watched him quietly. At first, he thought they were statues. But as he stepped closer, he saw movement, eyes glowing softly, long, smooth limbs, elegant shapes hidden under light fabrics that shimmered in the sun. They were women, alien women. One stepped forward. She was taller than him, with silver hair that moved like water and skin that shimmered like moonlight. Her eyes were bright violet, filled with a strange mix of fear and awe. "You are human?" she asked in a soft voice, her accent beautiful, but slightly broken. "Yes," John replied slowly. "I am Lieutenant John Keller. I was sent here by Central Command to..." Before he could finish, the group gasped. She turned to the others and spoke in their native language, words flowing, fast and filled with emotion. The women whispered, eyes wide, some covering their mouths in shock. A few even stepped back, trembling. John was confused. He raised his hands calmly. "I'm not here to hurt anyone. No," the silver-haired woman said quickly. "You are not danger. You are legend." "Legend?" he asked. She stepped closer, and now he could see how beautiful she truly was. Her skin was flawless, her form elegant, her presence almost hypnotic. "Our grandmothers spoke of a time," she said, "when a human would return, a male, strong and kind. He would come when our people were fading. He would bring life back to the dying line." John blinked. "Wait, what do you mean bring life?" She turned and pointed toward a nearby village hidden in the trees. Dozens of huts, smoke rising gently, and many more women watching from a distance. Some stood with hands on their bellies, others held small, pale infants, but there were no men. "Not one. We have no males," she said. "For generations, we have tried to survive. Trade, science, machines, nothing worked. Many species settled here together for safety, but none of us could continue our lines. Our bodies reject each other. The seed dies." She took his hand gently. "But the old stories said if a human came he would be different. His seed would not be rejected. It would grow." John's face turned red. "You're saying I was sent here to..." She nodded slowly. "To save us." He pulled back. "No one told me this. I thought I was being punished." "You are not punishment," she said softly. "You are hope." As she spoke, more women came forward. All were beautiful in their own unique way. Blue-skinned, green-eyed, some with soft feathers or scales. They looked at him with something he hadn't seen in a long time: respect, and something deeper: need. He didn't know what to say. Suddenly, a small child ran from the village and hugged the silver-haired woman's leg. The child looked up at John with wonder, eyes the same violet as hers. "You see," she whispered, "we are not asking for war. We are asking for a future." John looked around at the quiet village, the glowing trees, the eyes full of silent desperation. This wasn't a mission, it was a choice, and somehow deep inside, he already knew his life had just changed forever. The night was silent, but John couldn't sleep. The alien village was peaceful, almost too peaceful, and yet his heart raced like he was standing in the middle of a battlefield. Kari's words echoed in his mind again and again, her touch still fresh on his skin. He had come here thinking he was forgotten, but now he was being treated like something between a savior and a breeding partner. He sat outside the hut they'd given him, watching the glowing trees sway under the moonlight. The air was thick with the scent of flowers and something else, something soft and sweet that reminded him of Kari's breath when she spoke so close to him. He didn't know what she expected or what he expected of himself, but one thing was clear: his life would never be the same again. "John." A voice called gently from the path. He turned. Kari stood there, wearing a simple dress made from a silky blue fabric that clung to her alien curves like it had been grown around her. Her skin shimmered under the moon, her eyes were glowing faintly, and her long silver hair flowed in waves behind her. "I didn't mean to disturb you," she said softly, "but I thought you might want company, or answers." John nodded, trying to ignore the way his eyes naturally moved over her perfect figure. "I'm not sure what I want right now, but answers would help." She walked closer, sat beside him on the stone step, and folded her hands in her lap. "I know this is much for us, it is too, but we have waited many years for this moment." "This moment?" he asked. Kari looked up at the stars. "A human among us. We were told stories, ancient stories. Some believed them, most didn't. But every woman in this village knows those tales by heart, that one day a male human would come to us, and when he did, the wombs would open." John shifted uncomfortably. "Why me?" "You ask why," she said, voice calm. "But we ask, why now? And you know what we think. Because the galaxy broke you like it broke us. You were forgotten, punished, thrown away. Just like us. And maybe that's why the stories say it must be someone who's been wounded." He looked down at his hands. "I didn't think I had anything left to give." Kari gently placed her hand on his. "Then let us give you something." John didn't know what to say. Before he could respond, Kari stood and took a step back. "Come with me. There is something I want to show you." He followed her silently through the village paths. The huts were quiet, lit only by soft bioluminescent lights growing from the trees. They passed alien women sleeping near small fires, a few with tiny babies sleeping on their chests. Each woman looked peaceful, but behind their eyes was the same emptiness John had seen in soldiers who lost their squad. Kari stopped before a building made from smooth white stone. She placed her hand on a panel and it opened with a soft hum. Inside was a warm room filled with soft cushions and glowing wall paintings. In the center, there was a raised platform surrounded by petals and the scent of something warm and floral. Kari turned to face him. "This is our joining chamber." John's heart pounded. "What do you mean, joining?" She stepped forward. "Not all species need words, but our kind believes that when life must begin, it should begin with honesty, with no fear, with no force, just choice." Kari reached behind her neck and pulled the ribbon of her dress loose. The fabric slid down, revealing smooth lavender skin, full, perfect curves, and her soft chest rising with each breath. Her body glowed faintly under the light, and for a second, John forgot to breathe. She held out her hand. "This is not command. This is not prophecy. I simply ask, do you want me?" He stepped forward. "Kari, I don't know what kind of man you think I am, but I'm not used to being wanted." "You are not used to being seen," she corrected, her voice soft. "But I see you, John. Not as a tool, not as a warrior, as a man. And I want to give you something that will remind you every day that you are not alone." He touched her hand gently. In that moment, something changed, not just between them but inside him. The soldier in him had always followed orders, taken hits, protected others. But here, with Kari, he wasn't a weapon. He was needed. He was chosen. And that night, under alien stars, two broken souls found warmth in each other. The next morning, the village woke to whispers. Kari's hut was still glowing, and outside, waiting in silence, were 5 more women, different species, different faces, but the same expression in their eyes: hope, hunger, and a new beginning. They didn't say a word. They simply waited their turn. John stepped out into the morning light, eyes still adjusting after the long, intimate night he had spent with Kari. The village was quiet, as if holding its breath. But what caught him off guard was the sight waiting for him just outside her door. 5 alien women stood there, motionless. They were different from Kari, different species, different colors, different shapes, but every one of them held the same expression: calm, serious, hopeful. One had smooth emerald skin and long black hair that moved as if underwater. Another was shorter, with pale blue feathers down her arms and wide golden eyes. A third, tall and sharp-featured, had gray skin and glowing tattoos that pulsed faintly. With each heartbeat, none of them spoke. John blinked, confused. "Can I help you?" The feathered one stepped forward. Her voice was soft but clear. "Kari has accepted you. Now it is our turn." He raised his hands slowly. "Wait, you mean you all want the same thing?" "Yes," said the emerald-skinned woman, her voice deep and graceful. "You are not here for one. You are here for all. Each of us has a right to bear the next generation." John looked between them. "You don't even know me. We don't need time," said the gray one, with the glowing tattoos. "Our people don't live long enough for long love stories. But we feel. We know what kind of man you are. Kari's glow proves it. She is pregnant. Her body has accepted your seed." John froze. "What?" The feathered woman nodded. "It only takes one night. Your blood and hers compatible. Her glow means life has already begun." He staggered back slightly, heartbeat rising. He hadn't expected it to happen so fast. He hadn't expected it to happen at all. Kari had barely spoken of the future, only of hope. But now she was carrying his child, and 5 others were waiting for the same chance. "This isn't normal," he said quietly. "For you," said the emerald-skinned one, "perhaps not. But for us, it is everything." He ran a hand through his hair. "I don't even know your names." The feathered woman smiled softly. "My name is Alua. I am from the Nespern." The emerald one stepped forward. "I am Zira, of the Verdari." The tall, gray one bowed slightly. "Velith, warrior caste, Lumari." Then the last to introduce themselves, a short, glowing girl with coral pink skin named Mira, and a quiet, sharp-eyed one named Tanis, with skin like polished obsidian and glowing white pupils. They had all come from different stars, all left behind by war, famine, or the slow dying of their races, and now they had come to him. John didn't know what to say. He turned back toward Kari's hut, but she was already there. Standing in the doorway, smiling gently. "They came to me last night," she said. "They asked for their chance. I gave them my blessing." He stared at her, stunned. "You're okay with this?" Kari walked up to him, took his hand, and pressed it to her softly glowing belly. "You think love must be possession. But here we do not own each other. We share what's sacred. We protect what's rare. You are rare, John." He looked at the 5 women again. "And you want me to what? Spend a night with each of them? Not for us," said Alua, "but for the children who may never be born without you." It wasn't lust in their eyes, it was longing, the kind that only comes from years of silence, of hoping and never finding. They weren't looking for a hero. They were looking for a future. John stood frozen, the weight of it sinking deep. He had fought wars, saved lives, and lost too many to count, but nothing had prepared him for this. These women weren't offering pleasure. They were asking for legacy. He took a deep breath, one at a time, slowly. "If I do this, I want to know each of you. Not just your bodies, but your stories." Velith gave a proud nod. "Then begin with me, tonight." Zira stepped forward. "And me the next." John looked at Kari. She nodded in quiet support. He sighed. "All right, but you're all going to have to help me survive this." That night, under the glowing lights of the alien trees, Velith led him to her chamber. She didn't undress right away. Instead, she told him of her fallen clan, of the battles they lost, of the quiet extinction her people faced. She showed him her scars, glowing marks of honor in her culture, and asked for nothing but his warmth, his kindness, and one chance to feel whole again. When he held her, it wasn't with desire, it was with purpose. And outside her door, the others waited. Not with jealousy, but with hope. Morning light poured through the trees, casting soft beams across the village. John awoke in a bed that wasn't his, in the arms of someone who had once been a stranger, now pressed close with her forehead against his chest. Velith, the proud warrior, looked peaceful, something she confessed she hadn't felt in years. Her glowing tattoos had dimmed during the night, pulsing gently now like a calm heartbeat. John slid from the bed without waking her. As he stepped outside, the scent of the forest hit him sweet, earthy, alive. The village was already awake. Some women were tending gardens, others carrying baskets. But all eyes turned to him as he passed, some offering quiet smiles, others gentle nods. Then he saw her Kari, sitting beneath a large flowering tree, her hands resting lightly over her belly. She stood when she saw him and walked over slowly. "You look tired." He chuckled softly. "Velith is strong, not just in muscle." Kari's smile widened, but it was tinged with something else, something sad. "There's a glow in her now." John froze. "Already." She nodded. "Each species here has different biology, but all respond quickly to a human bond. That's why you were sent." "I wasn't told this," he muttered. "No one warned me I'd be responsible for." He stopped himself. Kari stepped closer. "For life, for hope," John sighed. "It's not that I don't want to help, it's that I'm only one man." "Then be one man," Kari said gently, "who doesn't walk away." He didn't answer. He couldn't. The weight of what was happening felt heavier each day, but there was no going back now. Later that evening, it was Zira's turn. She arrived at his hut just after sunset, wearing a green wrap that shimmered in the fading light. Her eyes were deep like forests, her voice like running water. "You don't have to tell me your story," John said as he let her in. "But I'd like to know it." She nodded and sat beside him. "My people were once many, spread across 6 moons. But when the sickness came, we were blamed. Other species feared infection. Though we had the cure, they burned our fields, destroyed our ships. We ran." She looked down at her hands. "Now we are few, and none of our males survived. We tried mixing with other species, nothing grew." And then, John said softly, "You heard the prophecy." Zira nodded. "Hope is a strange thing. You don't believe it until it stands in front of you, breathing." They spent the night wrapped in each other's stories. She taught him a Verdari song, low and soft, meant to ease the womb into accepting new life. She whispered the names of her sisters who never made it off their moons. And when the room grew quiet and their bodies met, it was not out of hunger but of shared grief. He held her until dawn, and when he awoke, her skin glowed faintly beneath the covers. 3 were now glowing: Kari, Velith, Zira. 3 out of 6. And still, the line outside his hut grew longer. But not every face looked calm. That day, John noticed something else. Alua, the feathered woman who'd first spoken so softly, was watching from a distance. She sat on a high beam near the village's edge, alone, silent. Her golden eyes followed him everywhere, but she didn't approach. He finally walked over. "Are you all right?" She tilted her head. "You've given life to 3. I wonder if you still have anything left for me." He sat beside her. "You're worried I won't choose you." "I don't want to be chosen out of duty," she said. "We Nespern are not warriors. We're soft, gentle. Some call us weak. I do not want you to lie with me out of pity." John looked into her glowing eyes. "No one here is weak, least of all you." Alua didn't answer. She simply rested her head on his shoulder and whispered, "Then come to me when your heart says it, not when the list says it." That night, John returned to his own hut and tried to sleep. But the weight on his chest wasn't just from exhaustion, it was from the growing sense that he was no longer just a visitor. He had become the heartbeat of a broken people, the center of something he never asked for. And still, more were coming. At midnight, Mira appeared at his door, small and glowing pink in the dark. She didn't speak at all. She simply reached out her hand, and John, without a word, took it. John never thought silence could be so loud. Mira hadn't spoken a single word the entire night. Not when she stepped into his room, not when she undressed slowly beneath the soft lantern light, and not even when she wrapped her small, warm arms around him in the quietest embrace he'd ever felt. She communicated through touch, through breath, through a gaze so intense it nearly broke him. Her coral pink skin shimmered softly under his fingertips. She was delicate, but her silence held more strength than any warrior's roar. And now, as dawn crept in through the curtains, John lay awake beside her, staring at the ceiling of his hut. He could feel Mira breathing steadily beside him, her head resting on his chest, her hand curled gently around his. 5. Kari, Velith, Zira, Mira, all glowing, all carrying new life. He had one more promise left to fulfill Tanis, but something told him that night would not be simple. He stepped out quietly, pulling his shirt over his shoulders. The village was unusually quiet. No laughter, no song, no fire crackling from the food pit. Just a heavy air, like everyone was waiting for something to happen. Then he heard it raised voices. From the edge of the village, John ran toward the sound. A small crowd had formed in a clearing where Tanis stood, facing two women from another nearby settlement. Both were tall, scaled, and visibly upset. One pointed at Tanis, voice sharp. You knew he was here. You let him choose you first. Tanis didn't flinch. We invited you many times to live among us. You refused. Now you want to claim his seed, and he doesn't even know your name. He doesn't need to, the second alien woman snapped. He's human. That's all that matters. We need him to. John stepped between them. That's enough. The crowd quieted instantly. The two outsiders looked at him. Then at the glowing women behind him, Kari, Velith, Zira, Mira. Their faces twisted in envy. You've already made your favorites, the first woman said bitterly. There are others outside your little circle who are dying. Human. Dying without hope. I didn't come here to be fought over, John said firmly. I'm not a trophy, and I don't belong to anyone. But you belong to all of us, the second. Hissed, your seed is life, and life must be shared. John turned to the village elders, who had arrived in silence. One of them, an old, silver-scaled female with cloudy eyes, stepped forward. This was always the risk. The human's gift would attract attention. Not everyone understands patience. Kari spoke then. Let him decide. Zira nodded. Not just who gets him, but when and why. John looked at them all, his eyes landing finally on Tanis. She stood apart, quiet, guarded. Her dark skin shimmered like glass, and her white eyes gave away nothing. She noticed his stare and finally stepped forward. You should come with me. Now, without another word, she turned and walked toward the edge of the village, disappearing into the trees. John followed. The walk was long, quiet, filled with strange bird calls and glowing mushrooms beneath their feet. Tanis finally stopped at a small cliff overlooking a silver lake. She sat down on the stone, letting the breeze move through her dark hair. John sat beside her. You didn't speak back there, he said. I didn't need to, she replied. The ones who screamed the loudest are usually the most afraid. He studied her face. What are you afraid of? Tanis didn't look at him. That if I let myself feel something for you, you'll leave, like everyone else. John's voice softened. I'm not planning to leave. No one ever does, she said bitterly, until they do. He reached over, gently brushing her hair behind her ear. You don't need to be strong with me, not every second. She finally looked at him, and something in her expression cracked. Her walls dropped, just enough for a single tear to escape. Without speaking, she leaned in and kissed him. Their connection wasn't rushed. It wasn't fierce. It was slow, quiet, steady like rain soaking into dry earth. As the stars emerged above them, they lay together on the warm stone, wrapped in each other, surrounded by the sounds of nature and the breath of something deeper than desire. Afterward, she rested against him, and for the first time, John saw peace in her eyes. You'll glow too, he whispered. I don't care, she said softly. I just wanted to know I was worth choosing. You were, he said. They stayed there until dawn, when they returned to the village. Tanis's skin had begun to shine faintly in the morning light. All six had accepted him, and he had accepted them. But deep in the forest, watching from the shadows, others waited. Not with hope, but with jealousy. The wind carried a strange chill that morning. John felt it the moment he opened his eyes. It wasn't the coolness of weather, but a weight in the air, something sharp and tense. The village was not like before. The usual warmth was missing. No laughter, no singing children. Even the birds in the trees had gone quiet. He stepped out of his hut and saw Kari standing near the village edge, arms folded tightly around her glowing belly. Her eyes were locked on the distant forest, where a thin line of smoke was curling into the sky. They've come, she said. John joined her, his body instinctively alert. Who? Kari didn't blink. Outsiders, more than before. Dozens, maybe more. They've built fires at the border. They know you're here now. John clenched his jaw. He'd seen this before, different planet, same desperation. Hope was a powerful thing, but it was dangerous when mixed with envy. Zira arrived next, holding Mira's hand. The pink-skinned girl looked nervous, shrinking behind her friend. They want to enter, Zira said, but they don't come with gifts, they come with demands. John turned to Kari. I need to speak with their leader. Kari hesitated. You'll be risking everything. Some of them don't want to talk. They want to take. Let them try, John said, his voice cold now. I've fought worse than words. Later that day, he walked out beyond the village, accompanied only by Velith, the warrior. Her glowing tattoos had deepened since their night together, her presence sharp and ready like a blade. Together, they approached the outer clearing. Dozens of alien women stood there, some old, some young, all different species, but every one of them had the same look in their eyes, desperation. Behind them were makeshift tents, wounded companions, thin children. It wasn't just a group, it was a migration. A tall female, with jagged blue scales, stepped forward. Her voice was deep, cracking. You are the human, I am, John said, and you must be the one who sent the message. I did, she growled. We came because our people are dying. You hold the power to stop that. I don't hold anything, he said evenly. I'm one man, not a god. Yet your seed flows like salvation, she spat. They speak of you like a miracle. Look at them. She motioned to the women behind her. How many will you turn away? John looked at the crowd. Thin faces, tired eyes, bellies empty, not glowing. I didn't ask for any of this, he said quietly. I was dropped here, forgotten, and now everyone wants a piece of me. We don't want a piece, the scaled woman said. We want our future. Before he could respond, Velith stepped forward. Then you come with respect. You ask not. Take, or you'll find we may be small, but we are not weak. A few of the outsiders hissed, claws shifting. The tension snapped like a wire pulled too tight. John raised a hand. Enough. He stepped between them. You want a future? Then let's build one, together. But not like this, not through threats. The blue-scaled leader narrowed her eyes. Then how? Structure, John said. Order, time, I can't give everything at once. But if you join us, follow our ways, help the village grow, there can be a path for all of us. And who decides that path? She asked. I do, John said, his voice firm. But not alone, with the women who already stood by me. A long pause, then slowly, she nodded. Some of the others dropped their weapons. One even wept silently, sinking to her knees. The threat was over, but the work had just begun. Back in the village, the elders gathered quickly. Plans were made. Space was prepared. The newcomers would be tested by patience, by discipline, by respect. Kari, Zira, Velith, Mira, Alua, and Tana stood beside John as he addressed the growing crowd that evening. I am not your answer, he said. I'm just a man. But if we do this the right way, this village can be more than safe. It can be a home for all of us, but only if we share more than my blood. We must share trust. That night, as fires flickered across the village, John sat quietly with Alua by the stream. She leaned her feathered head on his shoulder, her belly softly glowing now. You did something today, she whispered. I barely held it together. He admitted. No, she said. You turned chaos into family. That's more than any warrior could have done. He closed his eyes. I hope I can live up to this. You already are. In the distance, the stars blinked quietly, but not all were peaceful. Beyond the trees, in the deepest part of the forest, machines stirred. Metal moved beneath soil. And someone else was watching, someone who wasn't here for hope. But for conquest. The stars looked peaceful, but John knew better. He stood at the top of the central tower, built recently by the newcomers and village dwellers together. From here, he could see it all, rows of glowing huts, cooking fires, groups of alien women, laughing and working together, bellies glowing softly beneath moonlight. Life was spreading, faster than anyone predicted. But peace, he had learned, was always temporary. Behind him, Kari climbed the steps. She moved slower now, her belly full and heavy, but her spirit never wavered. She took his hand without saying a word. They both stared at the sky, where distant lights flickered unnaturally. Ships, not refugee ships. Not traitors. Military. Double quotes. They found us, John said under his breath. Kari squeezed his hand. The council, he nodded, or someone like them. Transmission had arrived earlier that day, encrypted, old Earth code. Hidden inside a supply crate dropped near the forest edge. A voice he hadn't heard in years. This is Commander Bryce of the Unified Galactic Order. Lieutenant John Keller, you are ordered to return immediately for questioning under Interstellar Law 912. Biological breach of non-human reproductive boundaries. They weren't here to rescue him. They were here to reclaim him. He didn't answer the message. He didn't have to. Later that night, they landed without warning. A single black ship, sharp as a blade, humming with quiet menace. Soldiers emerged. In silver armor, faces hidden, weapons charged, but not raised. John stepped forward alone. The leader of the squad removed her helmet. A human woman, eyes cold, sharp. John Keller, you're coming with us. He didn't move. On what charge? She held up a data pad. Violation of controlled biorelations. Your DNA has triggered pregnancies in 6 separate species. That's a Class 1 incident. They asked for help. He said, they chose me. That doesn't matter. She said, you're a weapon now, John, and weapons don't get to make choices. Behind him, the villagers began to gather. Kari, Velith, Zira, Mira, Tanis, Elu, and hundreds of others, all glowing, all watching. The officer looked uncomfortable. You've caused chaos across 5 sectors. If this spreads, they're alive because of me, John interrupted. Children are alive. Cultures that were dying are breathing again. And you want to erase that? It's not up to me, she said. Orders come from above. You're to be removed. Quietly. Kari stepped forward. You'll have to do more than talk. The soldiers raised their weapons. A tense silence fell. Then John said just 2 words. I refuse. The lead officer hesitated. What? I'm not going back, he said, voice steady. This is my home now. These are my people. You're under authority. No, he cut in. You don't get to say that anymore. You left me. Earth left me. These women didn't. They took me in. Made me part of something bigger than myself. I won't leave them for your rules. For a moment, no one moved. Then Velith stepped forward. Blade drawn. Zira raised her hand, vines slithering from her fingers. Even Mira, silent and small, stood tall. Hundreds of alien women, all pregnant with his children, formed a protective circle around him. The officer looked around. This will cause war, she said quietly. John nodded. Then Earth better be ready to fight mothers. A long silence. Then the officer turned to her troops. Stand down. They hesitated. That's an order, she barked. We're leaving. But one soldier began. Now, they backed away slowly, confused, weapons lowered. The officer gave John one last look. Not of hate but of something like respect. Then they boarded their ship and vanished into the sky. No one cheered. No one danced. They just stood there, feeling something deeper than victory. Belonging. Later. That night, John sat beneath the great tree, surrounded by his wives. Kari laid her head on his shoulder. Elu braided his hair gently. Mira sat beside him, her tiny hand in his. Tanis leaned against his side, Velith nearby sharpening a blade. Zira hummed a soft tune that echoed through the leaves. So, Kari whispered, they know now. Let them, John said. Let the galaxy watch. Let them fear what happens when a forgotten man is given a reason to stay. Kari smiled. You chose us. He looked at her glowing belly. No, you chose me first. And, across the stars, rumors began to spread. Of the human who fathered a future. Of a village filled with strength and life. And of the man who didn't run from destiny, he built it with his own 2 hands.